Hi, this is Cheryl for Bayer's Pampered Stampers. Today I want to show you a couple of fun techniques for making your holiday cards. This is a sample card that I made just sort of to show those techniques. Not my favorite or best card ever, but one thing I want to show you is how to make this fun striped background out of the scraps you have. The other thing that I want to show you is how to stack your words to make them really pop off the page. So let's get started on that background. You need a piece of cardstock the right size you want for the finished project. In this case, I wanted 4 by 5 1/4 to fit my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. So it perfectly layers on, and that's exactly what I needed. So I've got my background piece cut. I need some strips of paper. I'm using red and white for this card, so I've cut 4 red strips and 4 white strips. I'll really only end up needing 4 red and 3 white, but we'll go with what we've got. I'm using a tape runner here to lay down some rows of adhesive on this background paper. You want to make sure you put down enough that when you put those strips on, they will adhere. There's no you have to have this much or you have to have that much. Just put down what you think makes sense. Pay special attention to your corners and make sure your corners have enough adhesive, because they're the places that'll have the most stress. Here I'm going to start with a red strip. This is 1/2 inch wide. It's cut from 8 1/2 by 11 inch paper. These strips I cut on the 11 inch length. The 8 1/2 length also works, so whatever you want to do. If you have smaller scraps than that, just know you have to have at least 1 or 2 strips that are a little bit longer, because you got to make this distance from corner to corner. And so that's where I'm going to start with my first red strip, laying it from corner to corner. Now I chose this corner to this corner. If you want to do this one to that one, this one to that one, whatever you want to do works. There's no precision about doing it this way. I'm a lefty. This is what works for me. On putting down the strips, make sure you cover the corner on one end and then let the excess hang to the other side. Don't try and center them. If you do that, you're going to end up cutting more strips because you won't have enough paper to go through. We're using the excess to cover the other part of the card. For the second stripe, I'm going to grab the white color. I'm going to lay it right up against the red. Again, I want enough paper down here to cover the edge of the paper, but not a whole lot more, because I want the excess to finish my card. And I'm looking at these to figure which is the right and wrong side, just like when you die cut, when you cut paper strips. There's a side that's nicer than the other, so I'm trying to make the nicer side up. That's all I'm doing here. I'm alternating these strips as I go down the page, just laying them against one another. The adhesive is already there. I shouldn't have to add more. If you do for some reason, go ahead and add it. There's nothing wrong with that. You need your strips to stick to the page. That's the important part. Last one's coming up here. At least for this part. And I'm going to finish off here with a red. Now make sure your corner is covered. Here mine is just barely, but it's covered. That's the key part. Now we're going to pause at this point and we're going to flip it over. Grab scissors, which I buried here on my desk. Try and keep your hands out of the adhesive on the other side to keep it sticky. And all you're going to do is cut along the edge of your cardstock base and trim those strips off. This is not fussy cutting, so it's nothing to stress over. Just simply cut along the edge. If you're like me and didn't quite get it right the first time, go back and retrim. No biggie. Then I'm going to flip it around to the other side And I'm going to go ahead and cut these strips. First one takes 2 cuts because it's gone around a corner, but everything else, it's just a straight shot down the paper. So really nothing to stress over. Try not cut the base layer like I'm doing here. That's not the focus of this exercise, but I'm going to use the excuse of the camera in my face as the reason why I did that. So I've got half of my card covered here. I'm going to grab these leftover pieces. I'm going to look for the longest one. So it came down from this end because that's the only reason why I have a long sheet of paper left. And I'm going to place it up against that first red stripe. And I'm going to continue building. Again, I'm looking for my longest strips first because I'll need that length to go across my cardstock. But cutting on the 11-inch side, you have no trouble doing this. When you're on the 8.5 side, you have to be careful and grab the right strip to make sure there's enough paper to cover your card. So get that one upside down. Again, lay them on. You shouldn't have too much overhang. I have more overhang here because I know I have plenty of cardstock to get me through, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Keep alternating them to the top. With just 2 colors, you should finish with your red again. If you finish with another color, it's really fine too. It's all about the width of the stripes, and you could make them fatter or skinnier. It doesn't matter. Here we have to flip it over again and do the dreaded cutting. But again, we're just trimming ends. We're not doing any fussy cutting here. So this is simple, easy, and should be non-stressful. I'm convincing myself. I'm working on you too. You can see I still have some pieces left over here that are usable for future cards, certainly for those end pieces. So I do hang on to anything that's 2 or 3 inches because you can use it. And there we go. We've got our finished diagonal base. I'm trying to pull in my card base here. Show you how cool that looks. You can see where I snipped into a little too far up there and maybe haven't trimmed quite right around it. So I'm going to go ahead and probably make it worse by doing a little trimming. If you end up with too much of a crooked edge like that one, just take it to your paper trimmer and trim it down, and you'll have the nice straight edge again, and it won't be a problem. Here's one I did earlier. I'm going to swap it out so you have a better look for the finish, because this is how you're normally going to finish with a nice end product. So we've got the background done. Now here I added, just for simplicity, I added the word Mary. This is the Avery Elle die, Mary. It cuts out all as one word, so it's super easy to use and to place. You can see it here, cut in white. I cut mine all in red for this card. A little bit hard to see on the background since the red for my Mary was the same as the red in the stripes. So I went ahead and added the faux stitching detail, which I'm not very good at, obviously. If you're better, that's just a great way to cover up those sorts of things and make your Mary pop. I also could have added a white layer on top, but to get this look almost like I've got a chipboard on there, what I needed to do was cut out multiples of this word. And so here's one that I did just a few minutes ago. I cut out 5 different Marys. 4 of them are matched exactly and attached together. Glue is the easiest to use because it's wet. It takes a few minutes to dry. And so if things aren't matching up exactly right, you can just slide it a little bit and it'll go right back into place. My last layer is a darker paper. You can see it's darker than what's used in the stripes here. And the reason why I did that was to create this little bit of a shadow that kind of makes the word again pop off the page. So darker color for the back. If all else fails, just use black, or a dark blue works very well. This one you want to glue on, but offset slightly. So this one is a little bit to the left and a little bit down from where the others are in the stack, but you can really see how that makes it pop off the page, but yet it doesn't do anything to the readability of the word. So super easy way to do that. Again, for this one, I probably either need to stick the white one on top, although white doesn't do a whole lot for me with the white in the background, but whatever works with the finished card set. Again, for this one, I did the faux stitching detail, and that's just an easy way out. Better than the black that I used would have been a white faux stitching detail. Unfortunately, my white pen was a broader point than worked very well for this, so I went with the black because I had a really fine point in that. Now to finish off, I used some cute little holly leaves. These are from one of the tags in the Tulla and Norbert's Christmas Party line from Photoplay. This one's called Tag Etched Dies, and it's just the die set with the tag, to, from, ho, a holly leaf, a berry, and a star. So there's just a little bit there. I cut more for this tag, but I thought even more fun for this card might be to pull the Mary up to this side and use one of the fun little characters from Tulla and Norbert's Christmas Party cut apart sheets, or their die cut sheets, I think is what they call them. But essentially they're characters that are fully colored in on a 12 by 12 cardstock. You buy a die set, you can cut them out, and you're good to go. Now he's cute, but he doesn't show up so well because he's still red and white. We're having issues with that. So what if I pulled the guy who's got his little reindeer ears on? He's cute on it. This one's a lot of fun too. You just need to play around with where do the characters go, and they usually need an anchor of some sort. So you could be standing on the Mary or something. If I pull that down to the bottom and have him stand on the R, something like that. That's a fun way to finish off a card really quickly. No coloring was done on this card. All I did was cut strips of paper on a paper trimmer, attach them with a tape runner, put a couple of Marys together with a little bit of glue, and what a fun card. This one I'll finish up too with a little bit of the stitch detail, but I think I'm going to look a little harder for a white fine point pen to make that work. So again, just a couple of fun techniques that you can incorporate in your holiday cards or others. The stripes look fun in rainbow colors, 2 or 3 colors. You pick what you want to do. If you want to take lots of time, you can do wider strips and narrow strips, whatever works for you. Use your scraps. This is a good way of doing it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.